Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. For Technical Tuesday this week, I'm going to focus on a movement breakdown for the dumbbell thruster. Everyone has a slightly different optimal position for squat in terms of foot position, but I'm demonstrating here that typically a foot position of straight forward and directly under the hips or a little more narrow than the hips is going to lead to a position that does not maximize getting as much power. Here you can see that the knee goes goes forward very much over the ankle and towards the knee. And that I feel a restriction. I don't know if you can tell, but I feel a restriction when my toes are pointing forward in terms of getting to the bottom of my squat. So it lessens my power on the way up. I also feel more pressure at my knees when my toes are pointing forward. This is not an absolute rule. Some people prefer to be toe forward, but you should explore. Here I go into a natural position. Here I gain more depth. I feel much more comfort. I'm able to access using my hamstrings and my glutes more because I'm able to get a little bit deeper and generate more power from the back of my body instead of being very quad dominant. Here I also don't have as much knee over ankle. You see the knee stays more over the ankle instead of in front of the ankle. And that lessens the pressure on my knees. Here I'm giving you a top view, toes pointing forward. It's a little bit hard to tell, but just the idea that your knees are really tracking directly over your toes instead of when the feet are able to widen, you will feel less pressure as the knees go on the outside of the big toe instead of on the inside of it. It's also easier for people with dorsiflexion or ankle mobility issues to slightly rotate their feet out. The next thing we're going to talk about is the dumbbell position, the arm and elbow position. Here I'm demonstrating proper technique where the dumbbell is sitting directly over my shoulder. It's actually resting on my shoulder. There is no air between the shoulder and the dumbbell. The elbows are in front of the ribs, but not in the rack position. Here I'm going to demonstrate what I very frequently see, which puts a ton of weight on your back. Because of that float, the dumbbell and the shoulder are not touching. There is a lot more pressure in your back, and it's a lot harder to push the dumbbells over your head as a result. So what we want to do is make sure the dumbbell stays over top of the center line. Now we're going to focus on how to descend and the idea of triple flexion. Flexion means bending. Here I'm demonstrating first the improper way that I frequently see where somebody initiates with their hips and then drops back. That initiation with the hip is not optimal and also leads to more back pain. Here I see frequently too people initiating with their knees and not having ankle, knee, and hip move together. So the knees are getting excessive pressure and the heels want to pop off the ground. Here is triple flexion. The ankle, the knee, and the hip equally flex at the same time, allowing for this sort of springiness sensation. Everything flexes together. Everything opens together. More efficiency, more spring-like. Okay, next we're going to talk about external rotation of the knees on the way down. What we want to do here is we want to eliminate this kind of position on the way down, which is sort of similar to that toe forward position, but really what I'm emphasizing here is that my kneecaps are tracking directly forward. Now you'll notice that before I start squatting, I externally rotate my kneecaps out, and that gives me less pressure at the knee. More of the back of my body is able to be used, like the hamstring and the glute, and I'm able to get more power. The next thing is how to ascend. We talked about descent, and now we're going to talk about how to come up. So here I'm at the bottom. Notice that there's a speed that happens out of the bottom, and then I initiate the arms. So everything from the lower body happens at the same time, and then the arms follow after the hips open. So hips open. So here's an example of equal extension from the upper body as the lower body. This is what I do not want to see, where your arms are straightening as your legs are straightening. That is so much harder because your shoulders are not getting the benefit of all that leg drive. Okay, now we're going to talk about breathing. Optimal breathing for a thruster involves timing it so that you take a deep breath in, hold the breath, exhale on the way up. Deep breath in, exhale. So think inhale on the way, hold it, and push out. So it really mirrors the movement of your legs and arms. And we always, when arms are overhead, we want to be in a braced core position. So the exhale facilitates that. Inhale, hold it, exhale. Last thing is the lockout of the arms and the position or angle of the arms. So here I'm showing what I frequently see, which is people not pulling the arms back, and I end up not being able to see their ears as a result. That's how I know that the shoulder is going to get fatigued a lot faster than if they were pulling the arms back more. So the shoulders are shrugging. Here, I'm going to demonstrate the opposite, which is pulling the arms way back, but not because the shoulders are hypermobile, but because the person is arching into their back. So their core can't be braced. They're going to feel more in their back, and the ribs are going to leak out. Leaking ribs, arched back, arms way behind the head.